Hello and welcome to another episode of the Just Fine podcast. So, do you ever wake up one day, and even before, like, your thoughts can collect themselves and you can think about what you have to do during the day, you instantly just relive one of the most embarrassing moments of your life? Like, almost as if you're reliving it in real time. And then you think, wow, I want to walk off a fucking bridge right now. Because that's what happened to me this morning. So, a long time ago, when I was 3 or 4, my parents put me into Taekwondo classes. I was like a fucking wild child. I feel like I have ADHD. I just never got diagnosed, and I just deal with it. Because I was just all over the place. And so my parents put me in Taekwondo to like teach me discipline and like how self-control and everything. Everything associated with martial arts and discipline and all that. So they thought it was good for me. And it was. I will say that. It was great for me. And obviously I went through the rankings, got the belts, did the testings, broke the boards, everything. Currently I'm a 3rd degree black belt in Taekwondo. But when I was, I want to say 13 or 14. I was 13. It was March 2010. Our school was owned and operated by a guy. He was a 5th degree black belt, then became a 6th degree at some point. And he made a name for himself because he was like a breaker. He would do performances and break things like boards, concrete, baseball bats, everything. He would just break shit with kicks and punches and do a performance, and he would win world record. He would hold world records for like the most bats broken in like a minute or whatever. And he would do performances, and he would win championships for breaking, because like there's a lot of different, everyone thinks martial arts is just fighting. But there's a lot more to it. There's like performances, forms that we call them. There is fighting, but there's also breaking. And he was like, by all accounts and standards, the best breaker in the world. And he made him a name for himself. And so eventually in this 2010 time period, America's Got Talent reached out to him and said, hey, would you like to come on the show and do your thing and then see where it goes? And he said, sure. But then he said, but I'm not going to just bring me, I'm going to bring my team. Because the black belts of the school formed what was called like a demonstration team. We would do performances around the city, around the state, at competitions. We would perform as a team. And so we would just go places. And he said, I want to bring my team with me. That way he's the highlight, but at the same time, like all the other black belts they're doing stuff as well to kind of highlight that. And so me and my little brother were both black belts at this time, and we were on the demo team, so we went. So we go to Dallas, and the first audition for everyone, no matter who you are, is you have to audition in front of just a big camera. They just record your audition. And so we did it, and it was like a super small room. There's like 12, 14 of us, and so we're all packed in this tiny room trying to do this audition in front of the video camera. And we're like, whoa, we didn't feel great about it just because it was a super small area. There was a lot of us. We all had to do these kicks and punches and flips, and he had to break all this stuff. And we were just like, oh, like we don't know how this turned out. So we didn't have super high hopes. But then a few weeks later, we got a quote unquote callback. But this time it was for the quote unquote live show. Like how like on America's Got Talent or American Idol or yada, 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 they go to different cities and you see that, but they say that's the auditions. Like, oh, we're having the auditions in Dallas, and they film all those, and the people go in front of the judges. It's not really true. You get called back if you're good or if you're bad for the show. Because if you're bad, if you audition in front of the camera and you're really bad, they'll still pick you to come to the live audition, knowing you won't get passed, but it's good for the actual show. And so we get called back, and so we go to Dallas again, because for some reason they filmed it in Dallas, and then they did the actual show with all the judges and Nick Cannon. They did it in Dallas too. And so we went, we showed up at the appropriate time. We got ready. We were super psyched. And then there were a lot of kids. There was like half the people on the team were kids, my friends. And so we were kind of like psyched because like, oh my gosh, this is America's Got Talent. Like, this is the real deal. And then we met Nick Cannon, super chill dude. We met, who were the judges? Oh, Pierce Morgan was a judge. Sharon Osbourne was a judge. Howie Mandel was a judge. They were just super chill. They said hi to us as we were backstage, and we were like, oh shit, like, this is a fucking big deal. Like, we're actually like on the show. And my egotistical face is like, oh my God, like, I'm going to be on TV. Like, that's a big fucking deal. I'm going to be on TV. People are going to see me. I'm going to get discovered. I'm going to be the next Shark Boy. Everything. Because that's how fun fact, that's how Taylor Lautner got discovered for Twilight and all that shit, and Shark Boy and Lava Girl. He did martial arts competitions, ones that me, my brother, and our team would go to also. And that's how he got discovered. And I was like, this is my moment. Like, I'm going to be on America's Got Talent. My face is going to be on TV. Like, I'm going to get discovered. I was like, it's a done deal. And so we go, and we're going through warm-ups and everything. And it's time for us to go on stage. And then we look, so like they had us staged. Like the performance that was in front of us, and then the performance that was behind us is all like in a row. Like just backstage, like just a line, like consistently feeding you onto the stage and taking you off the stage. And the group in front of us was like a cover band. Like a 80s rock cover band. They had like the whole like just the full outfits. Like afro wigs. I don't even think, actually they may not have been wigs, but they were just like a rock and roll cover band, and they performed songs. I think they got passed. No, they got accepted. They said, you're going to Vegas, and so they were excited. And then it was us, and then the lady who was behind us was just this, I'm trying to find the right way to say this. She was just bigger. She was just a bigger lady, and she was a singer too. And so it was like a band, us doing martial arts, and then a singer. And usually singing is always like the type of thing that wins these competitions. And we're like, whatever, we're just going to try to do our best. So we go on stage and we do everything. Everything's going according to plan. We're performing our asses off. I see there's like a sea of people. It was like at the Dallas Convention Center. There's like a sea of people. Like, holy fuck, this is America's Got Talent. And I see the judges. I see each individual judge, the whole table with the X's in front of it. Nick Cannon is announcing. We're like, holy fuck, this is happening. So we go through our performance and we finish. But during the middle of our performance, Sharon Osbourne hits her buzzer and gives us an X. And in that moment, I'm like, fuck, what am I doing? Like what's going to happen now? Because we got an X, and I'm like, damn it, I don't know what's happening. And so I just keep going. We all finish. We scream, because in martial arts you yell a lot, and that was a big part of our performances. We always yelled, and like it helped us relax in a way. But anyways, we continue to do our thing, and then we finish. We all then group up as a team, and the judges start talking to us. Howie Mandel was really liked what we did. Pierce Morgan was intrigued. Sharon Osbourne said she got bored halfway through, but like, fuck her, I don't care. But then they passed us to Vegas anyway, because Pierce Morgan and Howie Mandel were both like, well, we liked it, you're going to Vegas. So we're like, fuck yes. And then when they said when Pierce Morgan said you're going to Vegas, everyone on my team, including my brother, just starts yelling, like cheering, screaming. And I stood there for approximately 6 or 7 seconds, it didn't faze me. Like, I was like, if you were to see the video, and it is on YouTube, the clip of our performance, you'll see me on the edge of the group. And they say, you're going to Vegas. Everyone's yelling. And I'm like processing it. Like, you can see the gears in my head turning. Like, what did they just say? Oh, they just said we're going to Vegas. Oh, snap. And then you can kind of tell in my face, like, oh, everyone's cheering and I'm not. And I realize I'm not moving. I haven't done anything to celebrate. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're also on television right now. Like, this is going to go be broadcast to people. You're not moving. You need to stand out. So I stepped away from my group, and I just like dropped really, really low to the ground, like, and just lifted my head and just started screaming my ass off. Like, if you've ever seen like an X-Men movie and how Wolverine would yell and scream with like his arms outstretched, like, that's exactly how I yelled. And again, it's on YouTube. It's not like you can find it by just searching, trying to like search my name or whatever. But I have the video, and it's a nice like humbling moment for me to know that I embarrassed myself on national television, because everyone's cheering and I'm standing there for a solid 7 to 10 seconds. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I just start screaming. So it was cool. Then we leave. We're like, oh my gosh, we're going to Vegas. I'm super psyched. My brother's super psyched. We're all super psyched. We're like, we're going to Vegas. We're going to be on the second round of America's Got Talent. I'm definitely going to get discovered. And then we were preparing our performance for Vegas. We were like, we got this, we got this, we got this. And then all of a sudden, like 3 days before we flew out, America's Got Talent contacts the owner of the school and says, hey, so Sharon gave you an X, and we only want acts that didn't get any X's in the audition. So, sorry, you can't come anymore. And yeah, it was a little disappointing in the moment, but kind of glad, because like, if I embarrassed myself like that just at the Dallas auditions, who's to say what else I could have fucked up? How else I could have fucked up my image or my personality or my self-confidence or whatever if I had gone to Vegas or the fucking real show. Like, I'm sure I would have done something really embarrassing and just fucked everything up from then on. So yeah, I woke up this morning and just instantly relived that whole scenario that I just explained. And I was like, ooh, thank God I'm not that weird. Well, I'm not going to say I'm not that weird anymore, but I've learned to control it better, I guess. I say that. It's not really true. I'm still super weird and super awkward, but now it's better because I've contained it to one aspect of my life. I used to just be weird all the time, no matter what part of life I was associated with. But now I've condensed my awkwardness to like flirtations and romantic life and a little bit of like the dating life in general. That's the main area of life that I'm the most awkward in, and that's fine. I mean, I've accepted it. I've moved on. I know I'm going to be alone forever. But here's the thing: even though I know I'm going to be alone forever, and I've kind of accepted that fate for myself, like I just accepted that like 10, 12 years from now, when I'm in like my mid 30s, if I've accepted I'm never going to get married because no one will marry me because I'm just that way. But I'll just go and adopt kids because I think I'd be a fire dad. I think I'm going to be a great dad. I already have like a very dad mentality. So why bother if I know it's not going to work out for me in a relationship? I'll just see if I can adopt kids and then just be a dad, be a fire dad. Anyways. But even though I've resigned my fate in relationships, I feel like I'm very wise. Just because, like, maybe it's the psychology experience and studies I've done over the past 4 years of my life, going on 5 and 6 with this master's degree program I'm in. But I know how guys operate. So I'm like the person, like I'm not going to say I'm a great person, but like if you are interested in like a dude and you want to know what the dude's thinking, I'm your guy. I'm already being that for so many people. Like, I give them insights into how dudes they're attracted to are thinking. And so if I'm sure no one's listening to this podcast anymore, according to the data I look on this podcast, but I'm still going to do it. If 30 years from now, someone finds this podcast and you're interested in a guy, there's a very important question you have to ask a guy in order to understand like everything about them. And people think it's like, what kind of personality do you have? What are your kinks? Nah, nah, nah. No, those aren't the questions. There's one specific question. So if you're a girl, you're a guy, and you're interested in a dude, this is strictly like how, like me interpreting what a guy's answers would be. So if you're a girl or a guy and you're interested in a particular dude, and you want to know more about them because you're trying to see if you should pull the trigger and like, should I go with it with this dude? Should we start a relationship? Yada, yada, yada. There's one question you need to ask. It's a very important question. It's a question that not a whole lot of people would even contemplate or read that much into, but it can tell you everything you need to know. There are red flag answers for this question. You have to ask them what their favorite fast food restaurant is. Okay? Now, there are obviously acceptable answers like Popeyes, Taco Bell, McDonald's, Wendy's. Those are all acceptable answers. I can spend a later time talking about those specifics, but really those are fine answers. Those are like the answers that a sane person would give, like a appropriate person would give. There are 3 answers that are red flags, that if they say either of these or any of these restaurants, that's a red flag. You need to cut ties, ghost, run away, whatever. Block them. So if they say that their favorite fast food restaurant is Long John Silver's, that means one of 2 things. They are either involved in organized crime, or they just have no standards, no taste. Let me explain. Long John Silver's, I do not think is actually a restaurant. Like, I've gone there like 2 times in my life, and it didn't look like anyone was either a customer there or even worked there. It was like always deserted, but it said it was open, and like a random person would just give me food after I ordered it and then would like disappear into the shadows. And so I feel like it's a front for something. And plus, like, they have like Long John Silver's like in the dead center of Texas where there is no bodies of water, and yet they serve fish consistently. I don't trust that. That seems weird to me. It's probably fake or like secretly chicken or something. Anyways, so that's why I think it's like, if you're the guy you like is like loves Long John Silver's, again, Long John Silver's has to be a front for something, so it's probably organized crime. But if he genuinely likes the food they give, he like doesn't have taste buds and has super low standards on what good food is or like good fish is, which is bad to say, because if he has low standards for food, something he's putting into his body, what does that say about you? Because he likes you too. Yeah. So it's not good. It's a red flag. Another red flag answer that he could give is Arbys. Because Arbys is garbage. By the way, Arbys is spelled A-R-B-Y. R-B, but it's also could be construed as the letter R and the letter B, which is short for roast beef. I saw that online one day and I was like, what the fuck? Because it's a roast beef restaurant. First of all, I don't understand Arbys. Like, yes, it gives you diarrhea and all that, but I don't understand Arbys because it's like its whole premise is like a roast beef sandwich when you can just buy roast beef at the deli for probably a lot less and just make your own roast beef sandwich. Like with McDonald's and Chick-fil-A, you can't make that shit at home. But any roast beef sandwich at Arbys, pretty sure you can make it better at home. Anyways, if this dude that you're interested in says that he likes Arbys, he has that means that he has like no standards for grooming. Like, he doesn't give a fuck about like his grooming habits. He probably only washes his hair with shampoo, or he uses 5-in-1 shampoo, conditioners, body soap, deodorants, and face wash. Disgusting. He has no standards for grooming, because if he's willing to put his intestines and his colon through just consistently having to digest and shit out Arbys, it's going to be a wildfire. It's just going to be bad. Like, no, he will. I'm sure that there is a positive correlation between guys who eat Arbys and guys who do not keep up with themselves grooming wise. It just has to be. So if your dude that you're interested in says, "Oh, I love Arby's. I could eat it every day," that just means he doesn't manscape, he doesn't clean up himself, he barely showers. That's just how it is. I'm sorry. Brought to you by Arbys. No. And then the last answer he can give, that's really the biggest red flag, is Subway. I've talked about it in a previous episode, how like Subway's bread is not even technically bread anymore because it's too sugary. But that's not what I'm talking about. If he loves Subway, it means he's delusional. He's delusional if he loves Subway. Because we all know that when you order from Subway, like a 6-inch or a foot-long sandwich, it's never actually 6 inches, and it's never actually a foot. It's always slightly smaller. And so he's delusional, because if he consistently eats Subway, and he's like, oh, I know what a 6 inches looks like. Oh, I know what a foot looks like, but he's never actually measured it. He's just basing it off what they say. Because, like, if you order a 6-inch sub, it's usually always, like, 5 inches. And if you order a foot long, it's, like, 10 inches. So he has this warped perception of measurement. And so by that standard, he's delusional, because what he thinks is what looks like 6 inches is actually like 5 or 4. So whenever he tells you and tries to talk up his game downstairs and says, "Girl, I got all this," it's probably actually a lot smaller, because he's basing it off what his standard of measurement is the 6-inch sub, which is usually like 5 inches, 4.5 inches. So he's like, "Yeah, girl, I got 6 inches packing." It's probably like 3 or 4. So that's the biggest red flag, because he's just delusional, because he thinks he has like all this going on for himself, but it's actually like half that measurement. So just keep an eye out, okay? Understand, if a guy you're talking to or is interested in says either any of those 3 restaurants I said, take my word of advice. Just go away. Look for a guy who loves Wendy's or Bush's Chicken or Bill Miller's. Those are keepers. I can talk about the other ones later, but I want to get into my favorite part of the podcast. Damn good news with Donald. Alrighty. So, a few articles. This episode's today is probably going to be shorter, just because I have a lot to do. It's fucking midterm season, and I fucking want to cry my eyes out. Oh, and there's so much gossip, and there's so much drama I wish I could talk about, but I'm going to wait, because I know no one listens to this, and I'm really just doing this for myself, but still, I'm going to wait, so I can dedicate like a full hour to it. Anyways, so, in Damn Good News with Donald. Oh, by the way, update. I'll do the updates later. So, Daniel Kaluuya reveals heartbreaking premise behind his Barney the Dinosaur movie. That is one fucking weird title to read. First of all, Daniel Kaluuya is the main character from the actor who played the main character in Get Out. Awesome dude. Fucking hilarious. But he's producing a Barney the Dinosaur movie. Get Out star Daniel Kaluuya is planning on producing a live-action version of Barney the Dinosaur with toy company Mattel. With the whole premise of the movie seems a little bit more than heartbreaking. Yes, that Barney the Dinosaur, the purple and green star of kids' TV from the 1990s. You know the one. They're making a live-action Barney. Is it going to be like that fucking live-action Santa movie that he's like teams up with the military to take on a child? I wonder if it's going to be... I really hope it... That's just weird if it's going to be heartbreaking. Because, like, Barney's like, "I love you, you love me." Kaluuya explained, "Barney taught us, I love you, you love me, won't you say you love me too? That's one of the first songs I remember, and what happens if that isn't true? I thought that was really heartbreaking. I have no idea but it feels like that makes sense. I feel like there's something unexpected that can be poignant but optimistic, especially at this time now. I think that's really, really needed." What? I'm confused. "I love you, you love me, won't you say you love me too?" What happens if that isn't true? So what? Barney doesn't love kids? Wait, that sounded wrong. So what? Barney gets his heart broken? Is that the whole premise? That he says, I love you, and someone doesn't say he loves him too? I'm so confused. I don't get why they're trying to make live action versions of kids' TV shows. Like, the worst thing that I'm worried something's going to happen is they're going to make live action Teletubbies, and I'm just going to have like a fucking nightmare, because Teletubbies used to scare the shit out of me. Full exposure here. It fucking scared the shit out of me. But that's weird. I really hope that doesn't come to fruition, because I don't want them to ruin Barney for me, or me get sad about Barney. Barney was great. Clean up, everybody do your share. That was great. In other news, new ITV2 dating show is looking for singles with secret crushes. They can look for me. I can apply for this show. There's a new dating show set to make its way to our TV screens, and this one comes with a bit of a twist, as it's designed to help love-struck singletons who have secretly been harboring feelings for someone. That's literally a TV show that I can be like the best contestant on. ITV2 has commissioned a 20-episode series of Secret Crush, which will help people who have been hiding their feelings from afar to finally reveal their hidden passion to their unknowing crush. Lord, I could be in every single episode of this 20-episode series, and it could be focused on a separate crush I've had over my life. Made by Naked Television, each 60-minute episode will feature 4 contestants in need of a helping hand in the love department, which could include you as it can include me, which can include you as casting is currently underway. Whether they've been secretly dreaming of dating their best friend, colleague, or gym buddy, it's time for the lovelorn to publicly admit their desires they've been keeping bottled up. But will their affections be reciprocated? Obviously not. Based on previous experience. Is love going to blossom? Or should their secret crush have actually stayed a secret? I'm going to go with that option. It probably should have stayed a secret based on my own personal life experience. For the 4 hopefuls in each episode, it's time to find out. The show, which is based on Naked Television's original dating show Secret Admirer, will follow admirers from all walks of life as they secretly invite their crush to join them, bravely agreeing to be filmed when they declare their true feelings. Whew. I respect the hell out of them for willing to be rejected on television. Ooh, their casting is underway. This news site that I read these articles from is from the UK. So I wonder if they'd be willing to come to America and film me, because I could be every single episode of their 20-episode series for every single previous crush I've had in my life. LOL. I could definitely try to apply for this shit. I'm sure I'd make it. They'll be I can say, hey, I'm available. And then they say, "Oh my God, you are too far gone. You are too hopeless. We can't actually help you, but we appreciate your application." I respect these people who are willing to. I mean, I would be willing to. I just knew it wouldn't work out. I'd go in like, yeah, I have this crush. I know it's not going to work out, but like, I want to be on TV, so it's fine. These poor people. Literally, this whole show could be about me. And lastly, in the news, our old favorite, Carole Baskins, is back in the news by suddenly and conveniently coming out as bisexual. Big Cat Rescue founder and Tiger King star Carole Baskin has come out as bisexual. During an interview with Pink News, the reality TV star and animal welfare advocate says she discovered her sexuality while being around the LGBT plus community during the 1980s. I was engaged to a psychologist. Interesting. I'll keep that in the back of my mind. And that was his entire field, dealing with the LGBT community. Baskin sometimes feels she was born into the wrong body and claims she is a tomboy. I was always very male-oriented in the things I did. I never had any mothering instincts or anything. I never played with dolls. Of course, she's a sociopath. That doesn't mean necessarily that she's male-oriented. She's just a sociopath. She killed someone. And so I always thought there was something off there that I couldn't quite put my finger on. She said that while she is married to her husband Howard, that simp motherfucker, she could just as easily marry a woman. Baskin has added that she doesn't see people according to their gender binary. After coming out as bisexual, the Big Cat Rescue founder asked her for her thoughts on Joe Exotic, but not for the reason you might think. While there are many issues with the gun-toting former Big Cat Zoo owner, Baskin was asked to comment on Exotic as a member of the LGBTQIA plus community. She replied saying, "I think he's an embarrassment to the human community. It's not a matter of what your sexuality is. This man is just a deviant in the way he treats human life and animal life." You killed someone. You killed your husband. Yes, I'm not saying Joe Exotic's a fucking saint, but she can't claim to be better than him just because he got caught trying to carry out a hit and she got away with murder. In all honesty, she's probably worse than him because she got away with it. Oh my gosh. The park has lost, her Big Cat Rescue Park has lost $1 million during the coronavirus pandemic. Wow. That's so funny. Anyways, I don't like that. Like, I'm never going to question someone's sexual orientation. I just think it's funny how she was just kicked off Dancing with the Stars and then decides to come out. That's just a little too convenient for me. I'm sorry. Again, not trying to I'm not saying like she's lying or anything. I just think it's a very interesting time when you were just kicked off Dancing with the Stars and then all of a sudden you just say, "Oh, guess what? I'm bisexual." Because that's not really going to change people's opinion of you. Just because you come out and you're like, "Oh, I'm a member of this community," doesn't mean, "Oh, we'll forget about the murder of your ex-husband and you changing the will so you're the sole beneficiary and cutting your dead husband's family out of it completely." Just a little odd to me. That sounds very cancelable, what I just said, but I'm going to stand by it. It's just, it's a little too convenient. She was just on Dancing with the Stars for 2 weeks, gets kicked off, a few days later, announces this to the world. It's just interesting. And that will wrap it up. That was a very bad kind of vibe killer. But she will always be, everyone will always equate with her as being a murderer, a person who got away with murder. And I feel like she's trying to up her image by saying, "Oh, but I'm actually this, and I did want to Dance with the Stars, so I can't be all that bad. And now I'm a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, so I'm better than you think." Like, no, you still killed your husband and like took all the inheritance or whatever solely for yourself. And you got away with it. And also, like, she says in this article, she says, "I've always been very male oriented." She wears flower crowns. This is confusing. It's a weird juxtaposition, I guess. I'm not going to say she's doing it for the attention, but she's really trying to capitalize on never not being in the news because everyone hates her now, and any publicity is good publicity. But I just feel it's a weird time. She just got kicked off Dance with the Stars. Why come out with it the next day? Like, you could have easily said this at any time during the pandemic when Tiger King came out. Anyways, and that is going to bring us to the end of this episode of the Just Fine podcast. Thank you to the one person who listens to this shit. Again, I'm going to keep doing it. It's becoming less about who's listening and more about what I want to say. And again, this is more of like not even confidence. It's just more of a way for me to kind of like vent, talk about shit, try to be funny, because long term, I would like to, when the pandemic kind of dies down and things get relatively back to normal at whatever point that may be, I want to go to a comedy club and go to an open mic and just see how it goes. And that was the reason I started the podcast, truthfully, is just to kind of get comfortable talking, trying to be funny, and then seeing where it goes. But yeah, that's an end for this episode. Remember, podcast is posted every Friday at 4:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can follow the podcast, even though I don't post it on social media. Tell your friends, like, rate, subscribe, whatever it is you do on whatever platform you're listening to, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, YouTube, whatever. All right. That's going to wrap it up. I hope everyone who listens to this, whether it's now or 30 years from now when you're searching through and trying to find some content, I hope you have a just fine weekend.